If moisturizers actually fix dry hair, people would no longer be looking for answers, but they are.
So we getting rid of hair products. We're getting rid of hair brands.
Olaplex is so popular that there's maybe millions of people at this point on this. Is there potential for Olaplex to do all of these things? 110%. Can Olaplex cause sores, open sores, irritation to the scalp, skin, burns, hair loss, breakage? Did they possibly do this to these women? Absolutely. Why? Because every product on the market, every cosmetic product can do that. That is the point. Everything has the potential to cause irritation.
Cardi B's new hair care line is definitely not a celebrity cash grab. Here's the thing. In her teaser video, she revealed she's been documenting her hair growth since 2016.
It took me about since 2016 to now to grow my hair. I'm not going to tell you what I'm using for it because I got to test it out first.
Black women specifically took this to mean that whatever product she released, this would be the key to growing long hair. Well, in reality, the reason that she was able to retain length had nothing to do with the fruits and vegetables that she put in her hair, but everything to do with the weaves and the protective styles that she wears properly.
People are going to buy it. But if they don't like it, they're not going to buy it again. So the key is for people to buy it again. People are not going to buy something again if it's not good. So I don't want to sell nothing that is not good, especially something that I'm promoting. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's going to be happy to fuck some pussy. But if the pussy ain't good, they ain't going to fuck it again.
Of course, everything I say at this point is alleged, but it is something very, very interesting and something that most women should consider, because when we're talking about hair care and when we're talking about people that sell products, they're broken into two categories. You have the celebrities who say things like what she just said because they're not focused on the science of hair, so they can't break it down to you scientifically. And then you have the actual scientists, the actual chemists, and the actual people like myself who have dedicated their entire life to hair care. But the choice always is up to you, but pay attention. Now, before you call me or anybody else a hater, I want you to pay attention. Both Beyonce and Cardi B have something in common. Both of their scalps are completely clean. They're not full and clogged of greases and oils and butters. They use a hearty amount of shampoo and conditioner. They're not mixing all of these concoctions online the way that you guys are. They have completely clean and verdant scalps, and most of them are wearing weaves and braids on a regular basis. So they're able to retain that length easily. But both of them have the same exact pattern and routine. The only difference between Beyonce's hair and Cardi B's hair is literally the color. That is it, and that is all. So neither one of them have some secret hair care product that is just gonna take your hair to the next level. What they have is a verdant scalp. What they have is a scalp that's sustainable of life, a scalp that isn't full of creams and oils and butters. It's not nasty and dirty. And this is the thing that you're not paying attention to. And this is the thing that makes Black women the easiest group of women to manipulate, because it never fails. When you look at the scalp of a woman with long and healthy hair, it is completely clean and free of debris. So my question to you is, are their hair products magic, or is the fact that they have a verdant scalp and they make sure that their scalp is clean and that their hair is clean and breathable? Those are the things you need to pay attention to. We don't want to admit it, but a really big number of Black women walk around with their scalps looking just like this. And we want to blame hair products. We want to blame blow dryers. We want to blame flat irons and combs and brushes, where in reality, the fault goes to us. We're the ones to take the blame because of our lack of a feasible pattern and routine. Because we don't allow ourselves to maintain repetition, and because we don't allow ourselves to have verdant scalps, then this is how our hair ends up. So I want to ask you a question. What is the difference right now that you see between this woman's hair and Cardi B's hair? Is it that, oh, she's a black woman and her hair doesn't have the ability to grow, or does her scalp look really nasty and really dirty? Is her scalp not able to sustain length? Is her hair not able to sustain or grow hair because of the condition of the scalp? These are questions that you need to ask yourself. So instead of putting these celebrities and these different hair care products on this pedestal, why don't we start looking at our patterns and our routines and changing them? Because when you look at videos like this, it is a very, very clear example. It is a very clear answer to why one group of women has long, healthy, and thick hair, and why the other one struggles to do it, and while the other has made hair a billion-dollar industry because of their lack of patterns and routines. I know sometimes things go on in life, but you have to be intentional and put yourself first. Let's keep going. Before it was called blog, but now I'm putting all of my studies, not all of them, but I'm going to start putting a wide load of my studies here on my website, and I'm calling it the official Verdant Code pages, right? So you'll be able to click here and read through a couple of them, right? So we'll just go through this one really quick, but before we move on, give me a 2 in the chat and let me know whether or not so far you've been doing good, if we've been doing good so far, and do you have any questions before we move on? Let's talk about why hair doesn't simply grow, it responds. Okay. For generations, the conversation around hair growth has revolved around a single question: how do I make my hair grow? It's a question that has fueled an industry worth billions of dollars. And every year we have new oils, new serums, supplements, shampoos, and treatments that promise thicker hair, faster growth, and miraculous transformations. Yet, despite the endless product advice, millions of people continue asking the same question because after trying everything, they still do not understand why their hair has changed in the first place. So let me know in the chat really quick while I drink water if you are a person who can relate to that in any way, shape, or form. Because most people are normally really, really confused about things. Most of us think that all you have to do is find the perfect hair product and your hair will be okay, but that's simply not true. Okay. So over the years, I found myself asking a different question though. Not how do I grow hair, but rather what allows a healthy hair follicle to function the way it was designed to. That simple shift completely changed the way that I viewed hair biology. It became the foundation of the Verdant Code. The Verdant Code is my educational framework for understanding the biological environment that supports healthy hair. It is not a medical diagnosis, nor does it claim that every form of hair loss shares the same cause, because that would be ridiculous. Hair loss is complex and can result from genetics, autoimmune disease, hormonal changes, nutritional deficiencies, medications, mechanical stress, aging, or other medical conditions. Instead, the Verdant Code organizes well-established principles of hair biology into a framework that encourages people to think beyond hair products alone and consider the health and the environment surrounding their actual hair follicle. Because one thing becomes increasingly clear when we study hair biology: hair follicles don't simply grow, they respond. They respond to oxygen. They respond to nutrients. They respond to hormones. They respond to inflammation. They respond to circulation. And they respond to physical tension. But most importantly, they respond to the environment that is surrounding them. This is why we started this conversation off talking about hair grease. and blocking the scalp and follicle occlusion, because these things are so important. The hair is more than what you see with the naked eye, right? And it's so important. If you want, again, to become more familiar with things, which I really recommend that you do, head over to my website. It's completely free and you can study it there. You have no excuse, right? Hair is more than what you see with the naked eye. And most people think of hair as something sitting on top of the scalp, but in reality, the visible strand is only the finished product. This is when the work is done, baby, but the real work happens beneath the skin. Each strand begins inside the hair follicle, a remarkably complex mini organ embedded within the dermis. And while the hair shaft itself is composed of keratinized cells, and is no longer living once it emerges from the skin, those nerves are dead. Otherwise, a haircut would be excruciating pain. The follicle remains one of the body's most metabolically active structures, and this is something that you really have to realize. It's a living structure. It's responding to your movements, the mechanical actions that you put into your body is responding to all of those things. And inside of this microscopic organ, thousands of biological events occur every second. And you oiling and greasing the butters and the oils and all of that have nothing to do with it. These are specialized matrix cells that divide rapidly to create new hair fibers. The derma papilla sends growth regulating signals and helps coordinate communication between these surrounding tissues. And tiny capillaries continuously deliver oxygen and nutrients. And again, those stem cells, they store within the follicle to regenerate tissues with each new hair growth cycle. And I'll teach you all about the hair growth cycle. I promise. It seems like I just make random videos, but everything's connected. And then the sebaceous glands, which secrete sebum, helping to protect both the scalp and the hair shaft. The nearby immune cells, which consistently monitor the environment, responding to injury, infection, and inflammation. And every one of these structures depends on communication. Everyone depends on balance. Everyone depends on its environment. And this is why I often say, hair doesn't make decisions. It just responds to the conditions that you set it up for. These are the different parts of the hair follicle that we were just talking about. This is the structure. But most of the time, all you see when you look at the hair shaft or when you think about the hair shaft is, the scalp, right? You are only focused on like the hair shaft, once the work is done, what you're putting on there, and then what you're putting on the scalp. But this, underneath all of this is where things are going down. And this is the part most of you ignore because you just put things on top of it to block the oxygen flow. So all of this is being ignored because there are layers, occlusive layers being stacked on top of each other. So talk to me in the chat. Does that make sense? Does that seem like that's something that will create a healthy environment for the scalp? It doesn't sound like it to me, baby. Okay, not at all. All right. So the hair growth cycle is a biological rhythm. So unlike many tissues in the human body, hair does not grow continuously. Instead, every follicle follows a repeating biological rhythm known as the hair cycle. So during the anagen phase, the follicle enters the active growth phase, right? Where the matrix cells divide rapidly, producing the hair shaft. And for the scalp, this hair phase may last anywhere between 2 and 7 years, largely determined by the maximum length the person's hair can grow and where you're able and how you're able to retain length, right? And then eventually the follicle enters the canogen phase, which is a short transitional period lasting several weeks. And this is where cell division slows down and the follicle begins to shrink, and communication with the derma papilla, it kind of changes. And next comes the telogen phase. And this is often called the resting phase. Although the hair remains anchored to the scalp, it is no longer actively growing. And finally, the estrogen phase, where the hair is naturally released, making room for the new anagen cycle to begin. So it's a process that's forever going. This process repeats thousands of times throughout a person's lifetime. The challenge begins when the follicle spends less time in anagen and struggles to re-enter the growth phase or produce progressively finer hairs over successful cycles. Understanding the cycle is one of the first steps towards understanding why different forms of hair thinning can develop over time. So when we're talking about the scalp is a living ecosystem. And one of the greatest misconceptions in hair care is treating the scalp as little more than skin. But biologically, it's far more complex than just the skin on your arm. Okay. The scalp functions as a living ecosystem where every follicle exists alongside a blood vessel, a sweat gland, a sebaceous gland, connective tissue, collagen. Listen, these are all things that you need to pay attention to because the nerve endings, the immune cells, and the diverse community of microorganisms collectively are known as the skin's microbiome. So the scalp is a living ecosystem. It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm gonna just slap oils and greases and butters on it. Take a screenshot and look at this right here and let me know in the chat if whether or not this is something that makes you like really think about it. Like, wow, okay, this is what my scalp looks like. Because underneath all of the oils, underneath all of the butters, underneath everything, this is what's there. So then my question to you is, how does you adding oils and butters and grease to the top layer of your skin do anything for the body's ecosystem? How? And I want you to pay attention where the collagen and like all of this is. I want you to pay attention to all of these entryways and pathways, and then I want you to tell me how you putting oils and greases and butters are helping. Block, you see the sweat glands, everything is needs to exit from the scalp. But if you're oiling and greasing it, you're stopping the natural function of your body and your scalp's ecosystem from doing its job. It's so simple. It's very, very simple. And I know it's really hard to hear sometimes, but it's very, very simple. Healthy ecosystem depends on balance. Right? Forests flourish because countless organisms work together. Healthy soil supports healthy roots, and healthy roots support healthy trees. The same principle inspired the name Verdant Code. The word verdant means green, flourishing, fertile, and full of life. Nature rarely forces growth. It creates conditions where growth becomes possible. That simple observation changed how I think about hair. So instead of asking, how do I force hair to grow? I now ask, how do I support the healthiest possible environment for the follicle to function the way that it was designed? So everything within the Verdant Code actually begins with this question. And if you want to check a couple of my scientific references and further readings, then make sure you check the link in the description box below. Head over to my blog post because I always have all of that information there. So I'll take a couple of questions and then we're going to head out of here. Okay. Because this is one of the main things that I really wanted us to talk about. We've been making a lot of changes to the website. If you signed up for the 7-day challenge or the growth cycle blueprint and you haven't signed in on the new website, please email me so you can get the code to sign back in. But please don't just email me like, hey, I paid for it, I need to sign in. I need you to email me with some type of proof of payment, a copy of a receipt, some type of proof of payment, and then we will send you that link right on over and you can get back in there, right? But this is the Verdant Code and this is the CYNPLE Network. I really, really hope that you head over to my website and check out things that I have for you over there, because I've spent a lot of time working on it. But I don't think anybody has any questions. And so thank you guys for sticking around tonight. And until next time, everybody be easy. I want you to make sure that you go ahead and watch this video again, because I want you to really be able to take these things to heart, right? I need you to really go look into it. Start it over from the beginning, right? If you came in here late, I want you to start it over from the beginning and go back so you can listen to what I have to say about petroleum. I need you to listen to the conversation that we had about hair grease, and I want you to not listen to me in offense. I want you to listen to really be able to ask yourself the question like, what does my scalp really need? Excuse me. And am I giving my scalp what it really, really needs by oiling, greasing, and buttering my scalp up like a biscuit? Like, is that something that is actually helping me? These are the things that I want you to think about. And most of the time when you are able to really sit down and really have a real conversation with self, normally it makes it way, way, way easier for you to put things in perspective. It makes it way easier for you to be able to look at things and put them together. Because when you are just throwing paint at the wall, hoping something sticks, right? When you are just constantly looking for product after product and constantly trying things, you're not actually learning anything. You're wasting money and you're just randomly trying stuff and you're just storing up more products under the sink. So, is that what you want to do? Or do you want to take the time to really learn the science of the human body? I really encourage you to just get a notebook out, right? And make sure that you are taking notes on things, and really not only taking notes on the things that I'm saying, but seeing in what ways they apply, right? Because if you are a person who feels like you're incomplete without a certain product, there's something wrong. There should never be a time where you feel like if you don't have one specific product, all of your hair is going to fall out. Something's wrong. Okay? So again, I love you, and I hope that this video helped you start to move in the right direction to get some control over the things that you do and the products that you use. Give me a 3 in the chat really quick before we go, if whether or not you got something out of this, if whether or not you learned something that you never learned or that you never knew before, right? Because that's really important to me. I don't just want to be talking to myself. It's really important to me that you guys learn things that you didn't know before, or that you are looking at things in a different way, from a different perspective that you didn't necessarily think to look at them in before, right? So thank you for sticking around with me tonight. And I really hope that everybody's going to really sit down and just do a little bit of self-reflection. Like, it's really, really easy. Ooh, everybody's putting 3, and then we got 33 people in here. Ooh. But I just want everybody, 35. I just want everybody to really be at a place where you can be accountable with yourself. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, and if you're always trying to be argumentative and no, I don't think that's how that goes, forget all of that. Look in the direction that I told you to go look in, right? Checking out the human scalp, the human body. Really, really pay attention to how God made your body. And then you make your decisions on what products you use based on that. Not just what people post online, because that doesn't make sense. the fads and stuff, that shit will forever change. But one thing that will always remain the same is the way that God made your body. There will never be a time where you wake up in the morning and you won't have sebaceous gland covering your whole body except for the palms of your hands, your elbows, your knees, and the soles of your feet. It will never be a day that you wake up and that won't be your reality. That will be that on that forever. That's what it's gonna be. But one day you'll wake up and that product line that was like just on top of the world, people may not like it no more, but it doesn't matter. Your body will still remain the same. So why not focus and put all of your attention on the thing that is never changing? Why not focus and put all of your money to and all of your attention on the thing that you're going to be stuck with for life, that's never going to leave, that's never going to change? That makes sense. It has to make sense. All right. I love y'all. Bye.